I had Goofy on my savings book. So I'd been there since I was like 8 or something. And the bank manager had known me literally all my life. It was around the corner from where we lived. And I walked in and said, hey, I've got this money, 10K, I want to invest it. And he said, well done, son. And he sat me down in a room. I think I got a cup of coffee. I felt very kind of grown up and special. And he showed me all these brochures, and all the brochures had charts on the front that were just all going up. And I thought, brilliant, I'm going to pick something great here. I'm going to make a lot of money. So I picked the AI of 1999. There was biotech back then. It was sort of the .com bubble boom, and put all my money in this thing. I walked out of that meeting room with a little brochure under my arm, and I felt really good. I was like, I've just done the responsible thing to do. I'm building wealth. And you fast forward 12 months, what happens? .com bubble bursts, stock market crashes. My fund's now worth half. So I sell the bloody thing because I didn't really know what it was. I didn't know any of the stocks. I'd never really heard of any of the companies. They all just said bio or pharma in them or something. And I was pretty pissed off about it. So I wanted to throw away that brochure. So I dug through my bookshelf and found it. And as I was about to throw it away, I just flicked through it and I looked at it and it said that I paid 5% to buy this fund. I paid 2.5% management fee for the year I held it, and a few miscellaneous items. So basically what I realized is that I'd taken all the risk. I lost half my money, 50% of my money. The bank had taken zero risk and they made 8%. And I thought, wow, this game is rigged. Investing is for suckers. Let's never do that again. That was where I was in 2000. And Martin, guys, and the questions, I will go through all the questions in the Q&A, in the now private Q&A channel. So feel free to pop them in there, and we will definitely answer everything there. Now, so what happened next in this little story? Well, I became an investment banker, and that was kind of an accident. I was visiting Hong Kong for the first time, and I'd been here like 2 weeks, and I thought, this place is freaking amazing. It's just got that buzz, that energy, and it's like Manhattan with a beach and tropical weather and without the crazy people. And I wanted to stay, but it's a pretty expensive place to be. I think it's sort of the top 3 in the world or something. And therefore I needed to find a job. So I sent out 100 CVs, and guess what? Nobody wanted to hire the guy with no experience who didn't speak the language. Surprise, surprise. And I was at this apartment of a friend, and we were watching the fireworks on this glorious apartment, amazing views of the harbor. And I was like, wow, that's the life. And I got chatting with the guy, and he said, what do you do? And I said, well, looking for a job. And he said, well, what can you do? And I said, well, I'm an economist. I literally just graduated, and I thought that meant something. It doesn't. And he said, well, one of my juniors is looking for, one of my colleagues is looking for a junior. And he was an investment banker, right? He worked for a pretty big firm. And I was like, amazing. And he said, well, why didn't you send me your CV? And I said, I'm going to definitely do that. So I sent my CV about 12 hours later. And bizarrely, they invited me in for an interview. And I met this chap who turned out to be my future boss. It's very nice, interviewed me, very, very friendly. And then after the interview, he sent me down the corridor, second door on the right. I went in there. That was his boss. He was a little bit sort of standoffish, but all right. And then he said, down the corridor, corner office at the end, and that's where I got a little bit scared. And that was the big boss, and the big boss was pretty icy and sharp, but managed to survive that. And then apparently, anybody who wanted to could interview the potential new guy, and they did. And it's sort of the rite of passage or something in investment banking. It's a weird world, but long story short, 5 days later, I waltzed onto the trading floor of an investment bank. And if you've seen any of those movies like Wolf of Wall Street or something like that, it does actually look like that. Just more screens nowadays. Everybody has sort of 3 to 6 screens. Everybody has a Bloomberg keyboard, couple of phones. And everyone's on the phone. Everyone's shouting at each other. It's literally like that. And where I sat was the hedge fund strategy desk. So we would come up with trading ideas, and we would sort of package them up in a nice little presentation and explain them, some charts, and it's all very data-based. And that was very useful because I still use that today. And then we would hand it over to the sales guys who would literally sit behind my screen, and then they would call the big funds, the JP Morgan fund and those kind of funds. And they would say, hey, here's a great trading idea. Do you want it? And then if they said yes, then our brokerage team would execute the trades. And that's how the bank made money on it. And then behind me were the risk management guys. On our left were the bond traders. And there was just rows and rows and rows of this massive open plan office with everybody kind of shouting at each other. But the strange thing about being a banker is, well, you end up dressing like one. So you embrace the I call it the wanker banker look. The white collar seems to be compulsory, the Prada sunglasses, and just generally looking like a bit of a twit. But I quite enjoyed it. It was an interesting experience. And the thing that really changed my life there was, the real information I learned, especially from my boss, who was very kind. But it was even more than that, the mindset shift that took place. Because I come from a family, my parents didn't go to college. They wanted me and my brother to go to college because they thought that meant something. So we did. And then they thought we should go and work for big companies because my parents never had. And therefore, we would become something in life. And they also believed that you should save a little bit of your money and hand it to the bank and hope that they will make you an 8% return per year. That was sort of the framework before tax. And I'd been instilled with this belief system, so that was where I was. And when I got talking to all these guys on the floor, the traders and sales guys and so on, they were all saying to me, it was a good year last year. I made 100% plus or 120% plus or whatever. And I was like, I'm sorry, 100%? What are you talking about? I just couldn't believe him. But we hung out a lot. We went for lunches and for dinners and for drinks and for parties. And it's that environment where you basically spend your life together, the people you work with. And I could tell they're telling the truth. And I became good friends with some of them, especially the guy who initially introduced me. And I know it's true. They were making more than 100% a year on their personal investments. And the penny sort of dropped that there are two worlds here. There is the world of a couple of hundred people on the trading floor in one of the big investment banks. And they know how money works and how the market works. And they've got essentially insider information and knowledge. And then there is the 99.9% of people who haven't got the faintest idea. And I thought, A, that's incredibly unfair. And B, I was like, how freaking lucky am I to be sitting here? I'm going to absorb this. I'll be the sponge. So that was kind of my motivation, essentially. I just wanted to learn what these guys were doing. And that's what I spent my time doing. And well, then I quit. And why did I quit? Because, see, they had a morning meeting at 7 a.m. every day. I don't really love getting up at 6. And it meant I was always tired. And I was there till 7 p.m. every day, which 12 hours doesn't seem like that unreasonable, but it was a fairly long day. And then we would go for dinner and we go for drinks. And, it was kind of like, okay, it's fun at the beginning, but it sort of wears you down. At least it wears me down. And so I said to my boss, look, I've really enjoyed this. It's been amazing. I really appreciate all of it, but I'm going to quit. And he said, give me a couple of hours. Let's have a chat this afternoon. And we did. And we sat down in a little coffee shop. And he said, why don't you stay? I've had a chat with higher ups. We'll give you a real bonus, which meant 6 figures, literally, for one bonus. And they'll double my salary. This is pretty appealing, right? I was 20-something, and I was like, okay, you kind of got me here. This is hard to say no to. And then he said the fatal sentence, which is, there's just one thing. It's been brought to my attention that the higher ups noticed that you leave quite early. And I said to him, I'm here from 7 till 7. He said, I know. I said, but I'm only busy 6 hours a day, right? I could basically get my work done in 6 hours a day. And the rest I'm basically getting coffee, looking busy, playing around with spreadsheets. And he said, yes, but you can't really be seen to be leaving before 8:30 when you're junior. And I thought, so I work for 6 hours and you want me to add an extra 7.5 hours just to look busy, to give people the impression that I want to be here, right? And that FaceTime, I just can't do it. I can't do it even for the money. And I've got about 50 staff now full time, and we don't have FaceTime. So you get your stuff done pretty much whenever you want. Okay, there are deadlines, obviously, with some things, but that's it. I don't care what you do with the rest of your time or where you do it from, because it's just not really humane. So I left and I quit and I started a business. Now, the funny thing is when you start a business, is you get so busy working that you forget about investing your money. At least that was me. And if you take only one thing away from this today is you've got to start investing now. This is the real urgency. So my thinking was I'll make more money with this business in 2 years and then I'll invest. Now, the other thing with a business is that you can work on weekends. Banks are closed on weekends. So I was actually working longer hours, but it still felt better somehow because I was doing it for myself. It wasn't particularly profitable, but it kind of felt good. And then 2013 came around. It was a Tuesday morning that literally changed everything. I was standing in my little apartment in Hong Kong and I've been feeling very tight and stiff. My back had been aching, all this sitting and working and being stressed generally. And I stood up and I sort of stretched and I just collapsed on the floor. I literally just hit the floor and I couldn't get up. And my girlfriend ran in and tried to help me up, but I was just in so much freaking pain. I couldn't get into a crawling position. I was just literally on the floor, couldn't move. So she calls an ambulance and I'm in a hospital bed about an hour later. And as I'm lying there on a drip with painkillers going into my arm, I was pretty freaked out because I couldn't move my toes. And I wasn't sure I could really move my legs. Very, very weird sensation when you're like 33 years old, right? And I was like, what is this? Am I paralyzed? What the heck's going on here? And half an hour later, this guy walks in with a blue blazer and a little gold button, all like dressed up, and walks towards my bed and says, I've got you booked in for 10:30 in the morning. That's all he said. And I looked at him and I said, what? And he said, I'm your spinal surgeon. I've got you booked in for spinal surgery at 10:30 in the morning. And I was like, okay, now I'm freaked out. I'm not a fan of surgery or knives. I'm definitely not a fan of knives near my spine. So I asked, isn't there something else we can do? Isn't there something else we can try? And Matthew is asking if this is live. Probably answers your question, doesn't it, Matthew? And he looked at me and he said, do you want to have children? And I said, maybe. Said, well, if you ever want to be able to pick up your own child, you need to have the surgery tomorrow. So that was kind of the real punch in the stomach. And part of me, though, the sort of instinct we have just said, don't trust this guy, because that's not something a doctor should say to a patient. Although one of my mentees now is a very well-known spinal surgeon, and he said that's a pretty common line. So I said no, and he was pretty pissed off and sent me a physio, and I spent a while in hospital doing physio, and then I checked myself out eventually because, well, I couldn't work. My business was dependent on me traveling every week and seeing people doing deals in meeting rooms. And I had $50,000 in medical bills. Private hospitals are fairly expensive in Hong Kong. And I needed to figure out a way to pay that. And I was in pain. I was in serious pain. And I had to basically figure out a way to make money. So this is me, 2013, with Tallulah, my cat, you see on the YouTube channel sometimes. She loved this. She was always on top of me or underneath me. And I would lie on this funny little tie mat on the floor, or I'd lie in bed with my knees bent and a laptop on my thighs, try to get some work done, which wasn't really particularly productive, because to make money, you want to build a business, you typically need to see people. Just couldn't do that. I couldn't sit. I couldn't carry stuff. I could definitely not lift a suitcase. I could not sit on an airplane for an hour. None of those things were an option. So I was just stuck, basically, lying there. So I talked to some of my old banking buddies, and this is how we connect back to what we're about to teach here today. And they basically said, why don't you tweak what we do here and work within your tiny 5-figure portfolio, which is all the money I had back then. And I was like, okay, let's create a rule-based trading protocol. I've got time. I'm lying here anyway with a laptop, frustrated as hell. So why don't we do that? And why don't we try to create a protocol that carves out emotions? Because I knew emotions were the enemy of trading. I knew that back then. So what I needed really was that rule book that I could actually trust and apply every day. It's a fairly tall order. So you might think, okay, Felix, but you've been in banking and you don't mind the ups and downs of the market and all of that. No. I really hate losing money. I really hate losing money. Like I lived in Monaco for about a year and a half or something, right? But a year or something like that ago. And they have a beautiful casino there, one of the most famous casinos in the world. Like every royalty ever has been there, and you know, James Bond movies have been shot in it and all that kind of thing. I never went in it. Why? I don't want to lose $1. Seriously, really don't like losing money. I also don't like winning a lot of money on a trade. Why? Because both create an emotional response that essentially make you stressed. And I don't like that. Particularly back then, 2013, I just wanted predictable income. I wanted to pay rent and medical bills and insurance and just make it through the month. That was really all I wanted. And so in that first 9 months, lying there on the floor with a laptop in Tallulah, I made some money trading. And then guess what? I lost some money trading. And then guess what? I made some money trading and then I lost it again. You guessed it. And for some of you guys who've traded before here, like Jacob or Doc or Patrick here, you've probably been through this, right? You've probably been through this. And you just tune in, guys, by the way, the chat is semi-broken. The private messages to me come through, but not the public ones. So feel free to send me private ones. I will see them. And if you have any questions, put them into the Q&A channel as a private question, and we will run through them all in a little while. So I had, however, a huge advantage over you and your YOLO trading. And that's, I could call an investment banker or a trader with a ton of institutional experience and go, I just did this and it didn't work out the way I wanted. What did I do wrong? How do I tweak my rules? And that's pretty much the process I went through for 9 months and then a little bit longer. But after the 9 months, we got to pretty much consistency. And it's thanks to that input from those guys I call my mentors. And this wasn't a structured thing. This was literally like BlackBerry Messenger back then. Like I send you a one-liner, they send me a one-liner back. It was like that. Or sometimes we'd have a 1 or 2 minute phone call. It was very, very limited input, but it was very, very valuable because they knew stuff that I didn't know. So I created my protocol essentially through trial and error and input from really smart people with a ton of experience. And the results are, just mind-boggling. I still can't really believe it, to be honest. It's bizarre. I basically figured out how I can make consistent profits in a couple of hours a week. It's just weird. It's just weird that that's possible. And what I have to do, I have to follow my rules. It's pretty much as simple as that. And how do we actually get here? Well, one, we have written rules, really important, written rules on your desk. You just see them and they actually work, and I apply them week after week. Now, that allowed me to get to consistent profits so I could pay off my medical bill. And I felt more relaxed because I now had another income stream. And for any of you who have, a back problem, my friend, it is 60-70% stress and 30-40% lack of movement. So you can fix the lack of movement, and you got to do some meditation or something like that. You got to do something. And Paul says, you are our investment banker friend. I love that. Yeah, and that's exactly the goal here today, precisely, to give you that leg up. So I was happy. I was making money. It was good. My back was getting better. So what did I do? I started some more businesses. And you might think, okay, Felix, you don't really learn much from the original experience, do you? Not so smart after all. Some truth to that. But the thing is, I only traded a few hours a week. I still do. What do I do with the rest of the time? Well, I kind of figured, why don't I do these businesses that I enjoy? I like building things. I like doing things that give me some sort of sense of satisfaction, and then trade and visit clients in Japan I've had a customer in Bali, for example, which is a tough place to be. Obviously, those business trips had to be at least a week or two. And that was kind of what I was doing. Like, go to Tokyo, see one client, go skiing for a week. And, it was all tax write-offs, and it was all very, very nice. So we had a really good time, and life was very, very good. And then, well, COVID came, and my travel rhythm was put on ice, as it probably was for most of you. I was stuck at home. I felt a bit like crawling up the walls, and I just had too much time. And I live in a very nice home. Back then we had 3 live-in housekeepers, and there's freshly baked bread in the morning, and literally breakfast is served on a tray when I come out of my bedroom, and it's all lovely. But I still got bored, and I'm somebody who doesn't do very well with not doing anything. It's just, I've tried it once. I tried not doing anything for 6 weeks once, I was so freaking frustrated by the end of that 6 weeks. It's just not the way I'm wired. I got to do stuff that, I don't know, creates some satisfaction. So I had too much time. So I was watching YouTube videos, as maybe many of you are. And I thought, why don't we see, me and Winston, if we could use YouTube to actually teach people how market really works? Because most of the YouTube's content out there is lovely, it's entertaining, but it doesn't really like move the needle, right, in terms of investment output. So I've always known, since I figured it out, how powerful trading knowledge is, and I realized how it changed my life. I also realized how I got screwed by my bank. So to me, COVID was kind of very positive in a weird way. And I know it was pretty horrific for a lot of people. I get that. I'm an introverted guy. I don't talk to people I don't know. And now I'm live on YouTube every day. And we've got an academy and we've got a whole team, which is amazing. And thousands of people in there, and we're helping them to get to financial freedom. And I absolutely love that. And I know we provide 10 times the value of the best colleges in the world. And that sounds like a cheesy statement, but how do I know that? Well, first of all of our mentors have gone to those colleges, so they'll agree with you. And they have all worked on Wall Street for 20, 30, even 50 years as market makers, as hedge fund managers. So I know we've got the knowledge. Now, it's fairly rare you meet people who've managed billions of dollars. So when I look at, like, you get an Ivy League degree, you're $85,000 in debt for each year you go there. And then we've got people like Jerome, you make $4,224 in week one trading. That's pretty fun, right? Or Riley, first day trading ever in her life, never done anything like it before, makes $206 with her first 3 live trades. That's cool. That's an experience that'll change her trajectory, right? And that's really what it's all about. But I'm not going to bore you to death with 1,000 student testimonials, because I know you're here to learn, and that's what we want to get to. So let's get to the 3-step trading protocol here. Cheesy quoting myself, essentially, emotions are the enemy of the trader. If any of you guys who have, like Patrick says, he's greedy, for example, we're all greedy. And that's what makes you lose money. So how do we fix that? Well, let me explain it to you. And you might want to start taking notes here or screenshots as well. So imagine what your profit potential could be if you knew what trade to open and when, and if you could fully automate profit taking, but also risk management. Well, that's exactly what we've done. So shall we get into our system? Shall we? I think we probably should. Okay. So here is Winston's rule number 1. We trade one stock. And what's the stock we trade? We trade the S&P 500. Ticker is SPY, S-P-Y, and we'll be typing that into our brokerage account in a moment to show you exactly how to put this into action. So we're going to run through the rules, and we're going to run through actual trade. I'll take all your questions. Okay, that way it'll make the most sense. Now, the beauty with the S&P is that because it's 500 companies, it's not going to drop 20% like an individual stock. So it's a lot more like smoothed out, which makes our life easier, less risk. It's also very liquid, which is very, very important, so you don't get stuck in a position. But above all, a lot of you probably have busy lives, you have jobs, you have careers, children, whatever keeps you busy. You don't want to spend or replace your job with the job of a financial analyst, right? Probably not what you're here for. You don't want to study the earnings reports and follow the CEOs on Twitter and all that kind of stuff. It's just too time consuming. We don't need to do that. We don't care about the individual companies. And you might wonder, like, what is the S&P 500? It's basically an index that tracks the largest profitable US listed companies. And ticker is SPY, which is what we're going to type into our broker in just a moment. So now you know what we trade, the S&P. So let's get into risk management. And you notice I'm not going to profits first. I'm going to risk management first, because that's how we make money, by managing our risk. Mark, I'm very glad you're excited to hear it. I love a little bit of impatience. That's exactly the way I'm built. Each trade we set up is small. Call it 5% of your portfolio, just for simple maths. We always use the same size. Now, why? It reduces our risk. It keeps us calm because both our losses and wins will be small. Small amounts of money trigger very little emotional response, which is important. So no more scary losses, no more frustrations about having, lost everything. So for example, if your portfolio were $30,000 and say you use 5% per trade, and each trade you open is $1,500, $1,500, right? 1,500, 30,000 is 5%. There's a second part to risk management. And here's a little Winston. You see that little antenna there on his head? That's risk management. That's a tracker. I can track him for 10 miles without phone signal, because I met somebody when I was hiking in France with him who'd lost his dog the weekend before, a lovely sheepdog, and couldn't find him. Why? Because people hunt and there are wild animals in the forest and stuff is exciting and dogs get scared or distracted and they get lost. So spend $500 on a tracker. That's risk management, right? We do the same thing with our portfolio, and that's we set a stop loss at 25% of the trade. So the most important lesson that an old trader taught me near the very beginning was, Felix, you must learn to love small losses. And I was cocky and an idiot and had no experience. Not an idiot, just no experience. And I said, no, I'm not here to lose money. I'm here to make money. And he just looked at me and he said, you can learn this the hard way or you can listen to me. And he was right. And it's hard to take losses voluntarily. That's why we automate it, because you can't trust yourself to push the button. So what most people go through, as particular retail traders, they set up a trade, it goes down, say $300, and they say, I'm just going to wait a little bit for it to recover back to zero, and then I'll exit. Then it goes down to minus $600, and they say, I'll wait for it to recover back to minus 300, and then I'll exit. And then it goes down to minus 1,000, and now they're feeling a little bit hot and antsy. And then they say, well, when it goes back up to minus 600, that's when I'll exit. I should have done it earlier. And then it goes down to minus $1,500, and now they're keeping a secret from their wife. And that's typically the path that most retail investors take, and it is just the way we're programmed. We are greedy and loss averse. It's a terrible combination. How do we deal with it? We automate it. So no more emotional decisions. We just set up that stop loss the moment we set up the trade, and we'll run through that in a moment in the brokerage together. So for example, if your trade is $1,500 in size, the maximum you can lose is $375. Now, can we reduce that amount further to minimize our losses? Yes. Ask me in the Q&A session, in the private message, because nothing else seems to be working today here. And I'll walk you through that. And I've actually got an example trade open at the moment that I did make that adjustments, it's called, to reduce a loss to less. So we can actually do some really funky stuff here. Profit taking. Here is Winston in Saint-Jean-Cap-Ferrat in the south of France. It's a beautiful place. And he likes it around there. You can go swimming. And how do we take profits? Again, we automate it. I call it salami tactic. We slice the profits. So we sell the first half of the trade at, say, 10% of max profit. The next quarter, we sell at 15% of max profit. And then the last quarter, we sell at, say, 25% of max profit. What does that mean in real terms? Okay. Say your trade is $1,500. And your max profit on that trade was 20% or a 320% gain, $320 gain. NAS is asking SPY for the UK. You can still trade SPY on options. You can't trade stocks, ETF, but you can still trade options from the UK on SPY. Pam, okay, love it. Pam, would you put that in the Q&A only channel as well, so we won't forget it. So how do we take profits? We take the 10% of the max profit, which is 320% on the first half of the trade, and that comes to $16. In the next quarter, we take profits at 15%, which comes to $12. And now here's the fun part. On the last quarter, we let it ride and take profits at, say, 25% of max profit, which is $20. And what does it all come to? Well, it comes to $48. Now you might be thinking, Felix, have you seriously been talking at us for 40 minutes for $48? Are you kidding me? I'm out. And I'm with you on that, because $48 doesn't buy you very much. I paid in Cannes 3 weeks ago, $300 for, or euros rather, for lunch for the two of us without any wine. So no, $48 doesn't get you very far. But what's the point here? That's a 3% return on $1,500. Our trades are typically a week long, maybe a little less even. If you were, in theory, to do 3% every week, you would be, you'd do tremendously well. There's a compounding sheet in our Facebook group if you want to check that out. So we intentionally look for very small profits, because that way they have a very high probability of happening. So we do them again and again and again, and obviously we do more than one trade. They do really, really stack up. So that's the idea here. So let's summarize this. Step 1, we trade one stock, the S&P 500. Step 2, each trade is small, 5% in size. And then step 3 is salami tactic profit taking, fully automated. And then a hard stop loss to make sure we don't have to keep secrets from our wives. And we rinse and repeat. Now, with my system, you don't need to learn the whole stock market because it's tedious. You don't need to learn lots of strategies because it's complicated. And you don't need to watch your trades all day. And I cannot stress that enough. The benefit of automation is so nice. Like, I'm on a beach, I'm literally climbing up mountains, I'm hanging off the side of somewhere, and my phone in my bag goes bing, and a trade just closed, and we made some money because we are not watching our trades, we've set it up. And therefore we get freedom, we can enjoy our life. So our goal is simple, passive income. Right? We don't want to be a busy trader. So we trade one stock, one strategy, and we automate profit taking and risk management, so we can go out about and enjoy our life. And Philip, do we have more than one trade open? Yes, we do. I'll walk you through that as well in a moment. Yeah, of course, we have more than one trade open. Otherwise, that would be very boring. So for me, this 3-step trading system has done absolute wonders. It could do the same for you. Now, there is a bonus here, and that's each trade has a 75% probability of making us money. That's a bit abstract. I'll make that clearer when we set up an actual trade, because you kind of need a chart to make this easy to understand. And Egbert, yes, it can be done in the UK. I believe you can do this on eToro. Yeah, any broker that offers you options, you'll be able to do that. Now, the beauty of 75% probabilities is you can be wrong on direction. You can literally be wrong on the direction that the stock is moving in. And now, inside our program, we spend a lot of time imparting our decades or century plus of experience onto you to make sure you get it right more often than not. But it's nice to know it isn't required. And I think the biggest value add we have is that we can literally give you the experience of people who've managed billions of dollars for hedge funds and for banks. And that's where the knowledge is at. And experience can be taught. So that's really what we do. But you basically have two choices. You know the system now, right? And we're going to run through the live trades right in a moment, and that'll become a lot more crystal clear than the theory here. And you can obviously revisit that. So you can go and do our way and do it yourself. You are very likely to lose money as you learn. You might experiment for a few years. Literally, I had a chap on YouTube Live last week, and he said, I just lost $15,000 on this trade. And I was like, so obvious what he could have done to prevent that loss. So obvious. Such a waste of money. Some people need to go through it. You might feel overwhelmed if you go into trading, because there is a little bit more to it than first appears, and it can be stressful. And I just want to be very honest with you that without an experienced mentor, this is a little harder than it looks. And option 2, you get yourself an experienced mentor. You can have a chat with us if you like. Find out how we've helped over 9,000 people already and learn how to become a consistently profitable trader without staring at your screens all day long and actually enjoy life. And the benefit is you learn faster because you get everything handed to you on a platter, and you can look over our shoulder as we trade live every week. So you can literally watch a bunch of investment bankers do real life trades every week and learn that experience. And you get us to watch over your shoulder when you do your trades and review them and learn and answer your questions. Like we do live one-on-one Zoom calls, like as many as you like. We also give you unlimited tech support because a lot of people get frustrated with brokers. Brokers suck. But it's a bit like learning to drive a car. It's not rocket science. It's just easier if somebody shows you. So I don't want that to be a hurdle for somebody to get to their financial freedom. So we sit down with a lot of people at the beginning and just spend like 2 or 3 hours on a Zoom call and make sure they really get it, how to use everything. Now, you might be thinking, this trading system seems so simple. It's 3 steps. Why do I need help? Well, if I look back at how I got here, lying on the floor with Cholula, figuring it out, do you know how much money I would give to go back there and have this presented to me on a silver platter with people to hold my hand and answer my questions throughout the coming weeks and months to learn what's going on out there? And there's a simple reason for that. Do you know how much more money I would have? Because my trades go pretty well. Like I'm fairly decent at what I do, and I run a small portfolio live for the community. Why small? Because, and I'll show you all my recent trades in a moment as well. You can take screenshots of them in as well. I'll show you everything. We're always transparent here. I run a small portfolio because I want to encourage responsible trading, and I also want to sort of show more relatable trading, I think. So in 2022, we did 126% return on capital. In 2023, 105%. And I'll show you what we're doing so far this year, which is not too shabby either. So if I did a few extra years of this while I was trying to find this and figure this out, do you know how much more money that would be compounded over 10 plus years? It'd be tremendous. But for me, the real thing that I get satisfaction from nowadays is seeing my students do it. And you know, Apurva here makes $16,000 and 64 in 2 weeks and says, it's been a rough week. Happy to come out of top London and applied a lot of risk management and shares his trades. Or Rosalind here. Here's a small portfolio, like I mentioned at the beginning. We have people who trade with small portfolios. Like she never traded. She traded here with $4,900. Made $448 in 1 week trading here, which is obviously super nice. Or Malcolm here, $2,099 so far today, which is not too bad. And he shares his trades here. And then he says, actually, it was 2,276 for the day. So for me, the goal here and the mission is this. I want to make 1 million people financially free. And to me, that means something very specific. It means you are able to live off your investing and trading income. You're able to, you can, you don't have to. You don't have to quit your job. You don't have to change everything. I've literally got students who come to me and they say, hey, I want one chap, James, he worked in a airplane factory, sort of moving things around. It's physical work. And he was just saying, I've only got a couple of years left. I can do this because my body is aching and so on. And about 6 months later, he was doing so freaking well trading. And I was like, well, why haven't you quit yet? And he said, you know what? I drive to work every day and I sit in my truck. He's American, he's in the South. And I just smile at myself for a little bit because I know I don't need to come here anymore, but I think I'd miss the guys. So the mindset shift from I hate my work and I want to quit, this is stressful. Now it's like, it's an optional thing that he actually now enjoys to do. So we don't have to do anything drastic, but we just get more options if we have more income streams. I'm a huge proponent of more income streams. So how do we achieve this? Well, we got to break the monopoly of banks on trading knowledge. It's very simple. The trading knowledge sits on the trading floors inside banks and hedge funds. Nobody else has got any idea. And if you were to work with us, you don't have to. Let me just show you very briefly what it would look like, and then we hop onto the trading in a moment. Now, so you want to be one of the million. I look forward to you being one of the million. Now, what we do when you guys get on board it, you hop on an hour-long call with us. We get you set up, make sure you know what you're doing, join the private community, which again, I'm super happy to show you. We help you set up your trading account, make sure you know how to use it. For some, that takes a little longer. Some of us are more IT challenged than others. And then in week 2, you start copying your mentor's trades in simulated trading. So we use simulators. So there's no money at risk. You learn with no risk. You're not going to say, I want to learn to fly a plane, go to the airport, take off. That would be madness. You go into a simulator till you are confident and comfortable and you know what to do. And you obviously review your progress with a mentor. In week 3, you might start joining some of our group sessions. Like we run a bunch of group sessions every day, interactive ones also, where the mentor, one of our investment bankers, would set you like a challenge and then pair you into little teams. This is all on Zoom. And then you go into your little group as a team, chat to each other on Zoom, try to come up with an answer, report back. And it's one of the best ways to really learn and grasp these concepts. And then in week 4, you might be ready to trade live. I always encourage people to take it slow. It's no rush. I prefer you are more experienced and more confident than that you're rushing into something. You can book as many one-on-one coaching calls as you need every day, or I generally say once a week is a good number. If you have more time, brilliant. And then in month 2, you enjoy your trading journey, regular calls with your mentors, and start drawing profits, because that's what it's all about, right? And then typically we're a 3-month program. So in month 3, you kind of see, hey, am I happy with what I'm doing? This is all good, or do I want to dive like really deep into this? And what we've been doing for the last couple of months, which is kind of madness, is this. We wanted to celebrate 3 years of the academy, and we thought, let's do something big. So we thought, well, why don't we triple the value we provide? And then I said in my stupidity, why don't we quadruple it? But it's not really stupidity, because I've seen the people who've been with us for a year or longer, I see the change in their knowledge and their skill and the questions that they ask, and their mindset is absolutely enormous, and it's life-changing, because you surround yourself for a year with a bunch of investment bankers who are trading, you absorb that mindset and that knowledge, right, and that skill. So your outlook on life is completely different. So we literally are running this still at the moment, where you join us for 3 months, we give you 9 months an additional coaching, one-on-one coaching on top. So you literally join us for a year, but you only pay for 3 months there. And so if you want your money to work for you, you can have a chat with us. And you can do that, book that while we hop into live trading, and I'll walk you through some actual trades here. You just click on the apply now button, or you can go to felixprehn.org/win if that button doesn't appear for you or doesn't work for you or something like that. And now you might wonder, hang on, Felix, but we're on a call here live. Why do I need to book a call? I get that. First of all, I want to get an honest picture of where you're at, what your goals are. I want to make sure we can actually help you. I only want people we can actually help. If we can't help you, we'll give you some free resources and send you on your way. But what you'll notice when we do the Q&A, just after the trading we're going to do in a minute here, you will notice that you ask me a question, I'll give you an answer. Now you've got 5 new questions, right? And if we did that, we'd still be here by the end of Sunday evening. And I think some of you are going to want to enjoy your weekend. So it's just more efficient. It gives you the opportunity to ask all the questions that you have and really, really chew through it. Now, there are 172 of you live here, which I absolutely love on a Saturday. Really, it's fantastic that so many of you want to like up-level your skills and improve your lives, and are willing to listen to a banker drone on about something a bit obscure, right? And hopefully it'll get a lot less obscure when we run through the actual trade and the broker just in a second. But we can't take 173 calls. So there's one thing I'd ask of you, and that is only book a call if you want to make a change in your life. If you want to improve your life, book a call. I don't need you to want to become a trader. I don't need you to want to work with me. All I'm asking is, if you want to improve your life, book a call. And the reason for that is this. You were curious about this. That's why you showed up. If you don't eliminate this as an option, whether you like it or you don't, you will always have this in the back of your mind. Maybe I'll do that one day. And it'll prevent you from moving forward. And I think most people go through life accumulating and filling their head with so many potential choices that they've never made a decision on. They're kind of swimming around rudderlessly, aimlessly. So it's a very, very important thing to just go, no, this isn't for me. and then you'll be like, okay, you'll find the next thing. Your mind will have more clarity. So as long as you are looking to make a positive change in your life, have a chat with us, ask us all the questions you want to ask us. And I know you're going to get a ton out of it, because at the very least you'll get clarity. So We guarantee our program, very simple, complete money back guarantee. There's one condition, and I'm always very clear about that. I need you to apply our risk management rule for the year you're with us. Why? Because it'll protect your money. Very simple. So if at the end of that year, you say, Felix, I've been here a year, took 1 million calls for your coaches, it was all interesting and all that, but this wasn't for me, I'm not really happy, then I'll give you your money back. Okay, very simple. And in addition, we give you an extra $50 just to say, sorry that we wasted your time, and hopefully inspire you to, I don't know, buy a good book on ETF investing or something like that. So click that apply now button. It'll take you less than 30 seconds to fill in a little quiz, and then you can book a call in your time zone in a calendar on a time that works for you. So you'll be able to do that very, very simply while we run through some live trades here together. Now, as I say, anybody who books a call here with us while we are still live for a little bit, while we run through the live trading and I'll answer all your questions, we'll give you 9 months free coaching if you do decide to join. So you literally join us for 3 and we give you 12, which I think is a pretty sweet deal. And it's going to be super, super fun to see how you change and how you improve, and very satisfying for me to talk to you again in 12 months and obviously in between. Now, some of you always wonder, hang on, I don't believe you can do this in a couple of hours a week. So let me give you some transparency here. Okay, I'll show you my real broker and live and everything as well in a second, so you can really see everything. So can you do this in a couple of hours a week? So April here made $6,500 on a 30K portfolio, $30,000 portfolio. I traded on Monday and Tuesday, 3 trades and 1 trade. That would have been maybe 15 minutes, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, right? Week 2, 2 trades. Let's call it 15 minutes, be generous. Week 3, I was in the Philippines on a tiny little island on a beach where there was basically no reception and the power kept going out, but it was beautiful. So that was a stop loss, right, for me. So I set up my stop losses and I went on holiday for just under 2 weeks. I came back and I was like, let's trade. So I traded a bit more here, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, nothing. That was the entire month, right? That was the outcome. Not too bad, right? May, $4,000 up in May, nothing in that week, nothing in that week. 1 trade here, nothing, 1 trade. Why? I was in France. I was enjoying myself. I was sitting in beach clubs. I was having a really good time. I did very little. So only occasionally I sort of saw one trade that I really must do. And then I got back to, I think, London, and then I traded a bit more here for 4 days. So what is that? Half an hour, half an hour, half an hour, maybe an hour, right? So how much did we do that month? 2 hours, 3 hours, if you want to be really generous. $4,000, not too bad. June so far, 5,000 and a bit up. It's actually a bit more than that. The screenshot is a day or 2 old. 4 trades here, 6 trades, 6 trades. So call that, I mean, half an hour. Maybe we've done an hour that week in week 2. Week 3, 4 trades, 3 trades, 3 trades, 1 trade. Call that again to 2 hours to be generous. 1 trade. I did another couple of trades here. So again, you see, get the idea. I literally spent very, very little time on this because that's the beauty of it. That's really the whole point of it. So look, in life, you got 2 choices, right? 1, choose progress, which is why you're here, which I absolutely love and I admire you for. Stay a step ahead, or you can be me, 2013, right? Just working hard, it'll get better, and just keep plowing on, and somehow it'll get better, and it doesn't. And my lack of willingness to change, caused me grave injury. It was incredibly painful. I lost almost my financial sort of well-being, relationships, sanity, all of it. It was really, really unpleasant, and I really wouldn't recommend it to anybody. So don't make my mistake. Keep staying on the path that you are already on. Now, really, the whole point here is to give you a wise, experienced guide who's done this for a few decades, who will take you by the hand and walk you through it and help you to make money in a couple of hours a week, right? And if you imagine if you had that set up, what you could do with your life, how it would change. And this isn't just about money. The more money I got over time, the more relaxed I became, the more happy I became. I think the nicer person I became because I had time. I could help people. I can do things because I feel like it. I don't have to do anything anymore, right? Sietze, Felix, I'm Dutch. What are the costs? Thank you for reminding me on that. So what are the costs? We had basically two choices here when I set this up. So we started this whole thing. Either we could make a kind of basic level course where we give everybody a sort of basic level of understanding, and we could reach a lot of people and turn them all into kind of average traders. Or we could turn a smaller group of people into amazing traders and really have a huge impact on their life, and hopefully have them teach their children and the people around them. And as you can probably tell from my energy level on that, I decided to go down that route. Now, what does that mean? It meant hiring investment bankers. It meant hiring people who've managed hedge funds. It meant hiring market makers. We've got 3 of them on our team who really have the real experience, right? And they're not free, right? They all have the heart on the right place. They're all doing it for the right reason. But there is obviously a little bit of a cost element to that. So I chose to go down the route of, yes, we're not going to teach everybody a basic level, but instead we're going to make a massive impact on the people that we do teach. And we've got lots of people inside the program that bring their children. The youngest we have, I think, is 12. I mean, imagine that. Your dad brings you in and teaches you at the age of 12 how money works. I mean, insane, right? That guy's life is going to be so good. So in long story short, it's a 4-figure tuition fee. Why am I vague on that? Because there are some different options. So you'd be obviously super happy to walk you through those. Have a chat with us, book a call, have a chat with us. But that gives you a little bit of a framework of what the fee is, and that is now for an entire year. So you pay only for 3 months, and you get the whole year for free on top. So, quick question for you in the private DM chat only. We can go straight to the trading, or I can show you what it looks like inside the program, or both. What do you want me to do? Given that the chat is a little bit debilitated today, let me see if there are a couple are coming through here. Myra says both. Kevin says both. Sorry about the broken chat today, folks. Pam says both. Naz says training. Okay, let me show you very, very briefly, and then we'll jump straight into trading. Okay, so we got a private community with a bunch of groups, sort of chat groups here, and this is yesterday. The guys are chatting here. So we have a wins circle. People share their trades. Like Justin here, for example. He shares some trades up $965. Week 2 here, oh my God, could not be more thrilled with my progress, which is nice. And then obviously coaches chime in and sort of congratulate him. And that's basically what happens here. Paco, hello guys, busy 8th week for me. 3 trades, net wins, $1,080 on a 50K account. Wow. Thanks for sharing and inspiring us. And so that's basically what people are doing here. Here's Paco again. $365 yesterday, and so on. So that's kind of like nice to have a community of people you can talk to about money and discuss trades with, and so on. We then have a channel with our live events. So you can see even today and even on Sundays, we're running sessions. And then Monday, Tuesday, we run loads of group sessions. The time zone is showing in my time at the moment. I'm in Hong Kong right now, so don't worry about that. We've got guys based in Europe, East and West Coast, US, Asia, so we cover all time zones. And there are loads of these. Now, do you need to attend all of these? No. The idea is that there is always a session that you can attend, so you get to know more of the community and can ask questions and so on. But you can always just go the direct route, which would be click the book a call button and book a call. So say Patrick here, one of our head coaches, he worked for the world's largest options exchange in Chicago for a $13 billion hedge fund. And he now manages a multi-million-dollar portfolio for a family office. And he trades that live. You can literally see him make those trades every week. He went to Wharton School and, you know, all those guys. Brett's one of our support guys, Philip as well. BK is one of our head coaches again. He worked at Merrill Lynch and Bear Stearns. If you know anything about investment banks, you'll know what they are. And then last, he managed the options portfolio for a $20 million hedge fund. He also went to Wharton and Cornell. And funny thing when I got introduced to him and we got chatting, and I explained to him, look, this is my trading system and strategy. Would you be comfortable teaching that? And he looked at me and he said, that's what we do. And I said, what do you mean? He said, first quadrant, $20 billion hedge fund. That's how we trade. And I was like, I just had to smile, right? And that's the lovely thing. We teach you the real thing. So that's basically what it looks like inside. You can just click on a button and book a call with these guys. And again, show it in your time zone. So let's hop into trading, right? That's really what you're here for, right? So we make the theory come to real life. Thanks for all the boths there, Martin, Paul, Robert, Mark, Chris. Mark is a little bit impatient. And like you see, most people are a little bit more patient than you. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. I'm generally one of the impatient people myself. Now, so what do we do? How do we do it? So this is a piece of software or website rather called Trade Vision, which is something that we are building. I'm actually building with, I wanted to post that, but I can't. You have to just type it yourself, tradevision.io. The chat is today broken, isn't it? Yeah, chat is broken. Can I do it in here? No, I can't. Yeah, I'm building that actually with one of my former students. He was an ex-Twitter developer, but long story short, the idea is to give you the chart that you're used to, stock chart, and then to attach to that the options trade to make it a bit more visual and give you the same quality data that Wall Street has access to. So what do we do with this sort of a setup? Well, okay, there are a couple of steps to this. And the first would be, I'm going to write this out here. Maybe not in red. Red's a bit menacing. The first is, and I'll walk you through that again in a second when we go through the Q&A, just to make it a bit more clearer. But one, we have a trade length when we set it up that is about 45 days long. Now, you heard me say earlier, we exit a trade in a week. It's correct. But the trade we set up is still 45 days long, and I'll walk you through that in a moment, the reasons for that. So what have I done here? I've selected at the top here a trade that's 42 days out. It's always plus or minus a few days for 45 days. So that's the first part of this. The next part is we want to set up a trade that is not what everybody else is doing, in the sense of most people would look at the stock market here, S&P trading at $544, and they would set up a trade that either makes money going up or a trade that makes money going down. What do you think the probability is of making money if you're just buying something and you want to make a profit on it within a few days? Well, it's 50%. If it goes up, it's 50% likelihood it's going to go down. It's just a coin toss. And that's why I don't really understand people who trade stocks. It's a tough place to be. It's just 50-50. Right? So the software here says chance of profit 50%. To me, that sucks. So I don't do that. What do we do instead? We position our trade below the market if we are bullish. Let's just say for this example here that we are bullish and say we're somewhere like this. Now the market dropped a little bit on Friday, so the example trade I've got open here is I would probably normally move this down a little bit more now. We'd probably go to here, which is a chance of profit of 76%. Why and how the heck does that work? Well, think about this. Mine is a bullish trade. So I make money if it goes up. Right? So I have a 50% chance of making money if it goes up. I make money up here. If it goes sideways, I still make money. But if it goes down, minus 3%, guess what? I still make money. So there is this zone here that I make money in, and there is the zone all the way to the top, no matter how much it goes up by. So this is a 50% probability. This one here is a 26% probability. It's 26% probability. So together, I have a 76% probability of making money. And that's a bit weird, right? It's a bit abstract. When I got first explained this, I was like, this doesn't make sense. Why isn't everybody doing this? But in a nutshell, all we do is we create this zone here, this margin of safety, where we can be below the current share price, we can drop and we can still make money. We go up, we're happy anyway, right? We go sideways, we're also happy. Anywhere in between, we're happy. So that's the first thing to understand, is that we are able to position our trade below the market. And the next question then is, how do we set it up? And I suppose, like, when do you know that you're bullish? When do you know you're bearish? So the easiest way to look at that, we have an indicator in here called trend, and green's up, red's down. It's literally as simple as that. And this is literally an indicator I've worked on for about 20 years, and it's pretty freakishly accurate. So to give you an example, like turned green here, right? And we went up. Now we don't have to hold all the way. We just hit our profit targets, right? We would probably enter here. So we start there and then we exit probably somewhere here, and then we rinse and repeat. And similarly on the way down, turned really, really quite ugly here, and then the market tanks and so on. And it's very, very, very accurate. So that's one thing that we use, is that. And you can, if I can move this up a little bit, you can see it, right? The red phases are red, the rallies are green. That's basically the setup. So how do you then convert this into an actual trade inside your brokerage? And I'm going to I don't mean to be confusing, but I'm just going to move this up a little bit because, of course, the market's closed right now. So I set up a very similar trade yesterday, so I could show you. And that's the trade I set up, and then the market dropped quite a bit. So my trade is a little bit higher than the one we just went through. We would set up if we had to set it up today, but without that benefit of hindsight, we would set up this trade. So how do you do that? So here is my broker, which is a thing called Swim. Now, for most of you in Europe, you would use interactive brokers, and I will again give you the list of brokers to use in just a second. I'll write them down for you in the beginning of the Q&A here. So what do? We type in SPY, we click on SPY, and then we click on this thing here called a vertical. And there's a little bit of language. It's a little bit like bankers want to look smart or something. They got some funny terminology. It's not a lot, just a little bit you got to learn. And then what do? We select, first of all, the date. And if you remember it, it was was it August? What's the date? I don't remember it. There we go. What does it say? It said August 2nd here, right? You see that at the top, August 2nd? Yeah, August 2nd, which is about 42 days out. Now mine says August 3rd. Why? Because I'm 12 hours ahead of US time. So it shows us in a different time zone, which is a bit weird, but it's the way it works. And then I select the prices. So I'm buying the green thing and I'm selling the red thing. So I'm selling 535. I'm buying 525. So I'm buying 525 and I'm selling 535. Right? And are we doing calls or are we doing puts? It says P for put and P for put. So we're doing puts here. And how many are we going to do? Well, let's do 4. It makes our maths really simple. So we're going to do 4. And then I'm blocking this slightly. So let me just move myself into the other corner. It's better. And so we hit the review button. And there's a price here actually, right? You see that price there, 163? You want to remember that. That's the price. You might want to write that down, 163. So I'm going to hit the review button, hit the send button, and then it submits the trade. Now, of course, Saturday, the trade isn't going to get filled today, which is why I've set up the same trade for you yesterday. So we actually have something to work with here. So here is the trade from yesterday. It's down $54, which is neither here nor there. And so what do we do with that? Well, we want to set up, first of all, our stop loss. Right? So we have a little cheat sheet for that, which is here, that's inside the program. So we type in here a couple of numbers. The price just now, the 163 is the first premium received. The spread is basically the prices we positioned this at. So 525, 535, right? And the first time you look at a broker, it's unfamiliar. It's just a little bit confusing. It's normal. I'll show you how you can practice this again in a second. So that's correct. And then we did 4 contracts. That's correct. And then it tells me here what my stop loss price should be. I'll zoom in a bit more for you here. So here it now shows me my stop loss price. So all I've got to do is go back in the broker, hit the close button. Got to put in that price, 204 here, 2.04. Change this to a stop order. Stop order. And then I want to change that from a day order to a good till closed order. Why? If you've ever bought a stock before, when you submit that order, for some reason that order doesn't get filled, it will die at the end of the day. It'll just vanish. So for our insurance, we still want that to be there tomorrow and on Monday and on Tuesday and on Wednesday for as long as the trade is alive. So we change it to a good till close order. And we hit the review button, we send it off, and now we've got our stop order. Our insurance is there. We don't need to keep secrets from our spouses anymore. Like the worst case scenario is taken care of. So what about the profit taking? Same story. Select the original trade. You hit the close button. And you cheat by looking in the spreadsheet, and you want to close the first half of the trade at 147 here, right? First half 147. So we type in here 147. That's a limit order. And that again is an order that we want that to survive today and tomorrow and the day after. Now, do we want to close all 4 trades at 147? No, just half, right? So just the first 2 contracts, hit the review button, send, done. Now we have a profit-taking order. So as long as this thing goes up a little bit or moves sideways over time or goes down a little bit, we'll hit our profit target. What about the next quarter? Same thing again, but now it's only for 1 contract. 1 contract. Go back into the sheet. $1.39 is the number there. Sorry if I'm going a little bit quick with this. And good till close. Hit the review button. Send it off. Done. And then you do it 1 more time because it's fun. It's a little tedious, isn't it? You got to do this every time. But you know what? It gives you freedom to never have to look at that trade again. So the last one, we close it at 122 here. That's be the bit that makes us the most money on this trade. And now you know exactly what the outcomes of this trade could be, good or bad, and anywhere in between. And you can go to the beach. And you don't need to think about this thing anymore. That's really the point of this. For the stop, you made a mistake, says Doc. Did I? 159, what did I do? Oh, it should be 204. Thank you very much. You are very attentive. It's always good to check these rather than to rush these, but you can edit them. What is it? 204. Thank you very much, Doc. Well spotted. And there we are. So now you've got up your stop loss and your 3 profit-taking orders are done, and you can basically go away and forget about the trade, right? Which is the intention here. So that's how you implement this. And A, I will give you a recording of this so you can go over it again. And B, let's go through how you could practice this and walk you through a few more of the sort of risk management type things, and obviously get through your questions here. So let me ask you one thing though before we get to questions. If we had the same amount of money, say we both had $30,000, who would make it grow faster in a year? You or me? And I'm not trying to be facetious here or, bragging or anything. But some of you are messaging me here in private. You, yeah, probably me. The question is, what's the difference between you and me? Both grown up in similar-ish countries. We both had a decent education. English might be your first or second language, as it is for me. We both have access to the internet, the same brokers. We have the same amount of money if we both had $30,000. So why would I do better than you? What's the answer to that? Well, it's skill, isn't it? It's a skill that I learned, and in my view, anybody can learn. It's a bit like learning to drive a car or learn to fix an engine or something, which I have no idea about. I got taught it by people who wanted me to learn so that I could make money for them. And then I had motivation to learn it myself. So really all money management is, all trading is, it's a skill like any other, chopping wood or fixing a house or a car or something that I can't possibly do. But if I spent a couple of weeks with a mechanic, I probably could, right? Probably could. So just think about that. And that's what, some of our guys have done here, like Neil, for example. He worked for 25 years. And now he says, look, I finally have time to develop the relationship I want with my dogs and my wife and children. Also, I guess, my wife and children, which is kind of funny. So yeah, just think about that. When was the last time you invested in yourself and actually got some value out of that? Right? So have a chat with us if you like, and let me answer all your questions in a Q&A here. And I will pull up a whiteboard just so we can do that a little bit more effectively. And Wilco, yeah, experience, exactly. I call it skill, you call it experience. It's about the same thing, really. And let me see if there are any questions here that we need to plow through. So first of all, the first thing is in terms of brokers. So you need a simulator, right? As I mentioned. And the best simulators out there in Europe are interactive brokers. It's called IBKR. In the UK, you also have Webull now, which does a decent job. They're your choices in Europe. I don't think many Americans are awake at this time, but if you are in America, so if you are in the USA, you could also use Thinkorswim, which is what I'm using. But I also have an IBKR account. That would be the first thing. Is time zones an issue for mentorship, says Paul? Honestly, no. We have people all over the world in all time zones. We have head coaches in all time zones. We run sessions in all time zones. I really don't think it matters. We have people from Australia to the east and west coast, and obviously in Europe and everywhere in between. Let me see some of these here. A 25% stop loss only works on the S&P. If you trade much more volatile things, yes, I'd be cautious. But I would start out trading only the S&P because it has in my view, it's the sweet spot for lowest risk and highest reward. So I would definitely get consistent and profitable on that. Pam is saying loss adjustments. Okay, Pam, you like some pain. Let me pull that up for you. So what's the idea with that? So say this was our trade, right? And for some reason, the stock started to go against us. Right now on this trade here, our maximum loss is $836. $836. That's at the moment our pain threshold. Can we do something about that? Yes, we can. So what we could do, and that will probably be the first thing we do, is we turn this into, we slap a trade on the other side. Put the original trade back on. This is the original trade. And then we put a trade here at the top somewhere. Depends on where, but something like that. So what have I done? I have taken an $836 loss, maximum loss, and turned it into a $417 loss. So I've just halved my max loss by putting a trade on the other side. So my max loss is now $417. That's a win, right? Now, have I created additional risk? No. Why? You can't lose in both directions. It's not possible. So your worst case outcome is now gone from minus 836 to minus 417. That's what we talk about adjustments. It's a little bit more maybe depth than we can cover here today in an hour, but that's sort of the concept. Some of you are asking here, Sivaram, if you are only trading one thing, what do? We set up multiple trades. So we look at the chart and we would maybe set up a trade every day. Maybe you set up a bearish trade here. Maybe you set up a couple of bearish trades here. And then as the market turns bullish again, you start setting up bullish trades here. And you sort of aim to always be above and below the market and have different expiration dates and slightly different market trade positions. And you can literally run a whole portfolio with one stock. And that's all you need to do. There are big funds that do that never touch any other stock. Carl, let's run it against gold and FTSE. Are you talking about our indicator there? Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it? It's an indicator. It's not 100% foolproof. You need risk management to make money, but yeah, a good indicator will take you quite far. John is asking here about when you place your trades, before, during, or post market hours. So when I'm in Hong Kong, I trade like in the first hour of the market, which actually isn't super ideal. If you're in Europe, I would ideally trade maybe about 2 hours after the market opens because it's a little bit calmer, but it works. We've got people in Australia, they're never awake when the market's open, and they're doing well. It doesn't really matter. You can set trades up with limit orders pretty much any time, set up your automations, and it doesn't really make a huge amount of difference. Isn't that pretty risky to run only one stock? Well, Philip, we're running the S&P. It's 500 companies. So we're running an average of the index. So I would say it's probably the least risky thing you could possibly be doing. It's the same process to do stop losses for bearish trades. Yeah, exactly the same thing. It's just the other way around. You just flip it upside down. Okay, let me see if we've got any more questions in the chat here. Egbert says eToro has a virtual portfolio option. Yeah, if they allow you to do options trading in that, then you could also use that. Like literally any broker will do the same job. And for the paper trading and the simulated trading, you just need to simulate. You don't need to use it for real trading later on. Do you trade in a tax-free account? If your country allows it, of course. If you are in Australia or somewhere, you have trading accounts, or some of the Germans use trading GmbHs, and every country has something a little bit different. Okay, let me just see here if there are any other questions I missed, guys. But if I have, I apologize. I encourage you to ask us those questions, complain about me on the call and say, Felix missed my question, forward to him. And they will do, because that's really what I want you to get. But honestly, for me, what the whole thing is about, it's time freedom, it's location freedom. Like, how much do you want it? And what's control of your life, right? For me, the most horrible thing about working for other people was having to ask for days off and having to beg sort of for holidays, and people are irritated you're going on holiday, and vacation time was I just didn't think that was a way to live. So my real question, honestly, is this: do you want 1,500 days of freedom or 17,000 days of freedom? Like kind of what we started off with here today. And I think the freedom I have now, I wish everybody to have it. That's why I do this. I get a huge kick out of it. I get lovely messages every day from my students, and it's incredibly satisfying. I'd love for you to be part of that and be selfishly satisfying for me, but of course, much more importantly, move you towards your financial freedom. So have a chat with us, book that call, or go to felixfrenzelog.com/win. And I'll leave you with a few words from my students. I love you for giving up some of your precious Saturday to learn something that's a little bit abstract and so on. I'll send you a recording of this so you can plow through it once more if you like. And I wish you a beautiful weekend. I wish that you get to your goals and your dreams and your freedom. And I thank you for your time. Let's just say, find the button with a few words from our students.
I went live about a quarter ago, and consistently my returns have been 5 to 10% per month.
I'm up 4% with my portfolio for the first 3 weeks of trading options.
This course really changed my life. This will be one of the best investments you will make throughout your life.
I'm very happy with this program, and it opens a whole lot of new opportunities.
And this really helped me understand how option trading works, and I started paper trading successfully for a couple of months.
It's been a bit of a life-changing and game-changing experience for me in going through this program and diving into the investing and options world here.
The community is great because it's a community of like-minded people, traders, who are on the same journey, who have the same questions, who have a diverse set of experiences, and who are located all around the world. So all of that different experience put together with the wealth of knowledge and the depth of experience of all the coaches and mentors makes it a fantastic program. I really enjoyed it.
Felix is different. He's a great guy. He's always there for you. You can talk about anything with him. For example, I talked about real estate property. It doesn't have to be only options and shares.
Very pleased with Felix. He's a great teacher. He cares about his students.
Felix and his team have completely tailored my mentorship to suit my time. It has not been a problem whatsoever. The support that they give you is just something that I've never experienced before. If you are considering joining this mentorship, please do. You will not regret it. It is incredible. I'm so glad that I am a part of it.
It's amazing. I really understand, I can easily understand all the concepts, strategies, the ideas behind. Thank you very much for your time, and I wish you financial success. Thank you, everybody. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao, as he says. Enjoy your weekend. Have a chat with us, as I say. Book a call. If you spent an hour and 36 minutes with me, you probably owe it to yourself to just ask us some difficult questions, if nothing else. I wish you a beautiful